السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام.
السيدات والسادة الكرام، مساء الخير. يسعدني أن أرحب بكم في ندوة التنمية والفرص الاقتصادية في قطر التي نظمها بنك الدوحة عبر الإنترنت، والتي سوف تتناول عدداً من الموضوعات الجوهرية مثل المرونة التي يتحلى بها الاقتصاد القطري ومدى فاعلية وكفاءة السياسات الحكومية في الاستجابة لمواجهة التحديات ومبادرات التنمية المستدامة والتداعيات المستمرة للجائحة على الاقتصاديات العالمية والمحلية. وسوف نتناول هذه الجهود والتدابير بمزيد من التفصيل مع السادة المتحدثين الأفاضل الذين يشرفوننا في هذه الندوة: السيد خالد عبد الله المانع، المدير التنفيذي لتمويل الأموال في بنك قطر للتنمية; السيد راشد علي المنصوري، الرئيس التنفيذي لبورصة قطر; السيد يوسف محمد الجيدة، الرئيس التنفيذي لمركز قطر للمال; سعادة الشيخ الدكتور محمد بن حمد الثاني، مدير إدارة الصحة العامة بوزارة الصحة. والآن مع كلمة الدكتور سيتارامان، الرئيس التنفيذي لبنك الدوحة. Good afternoon, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Qatar Economic Development and Opportunities webinar, which is organized by Doha Bank. In this webinar, we will discuss essential topics concerning the resilience of the Qatar economy, the effectiveness of the government's policy response and sustainable development initiatives, the continuing implication of the pandemic on the global and local economy. We are going to further elaborate on these efforts and measures with our distinguished speakers: Mr. Khalid Al-Mani, Executive Director of Business Finance, Qatar Development Bank; Mr. Rashid Ali Al-Mansouri, Chief Executive Officer of Qatar Stock Exchange; Mr. Yusuf Mohammed Al-Jeda, Chief Executive Officer of Qatar Financial Center; Sheikh Dr. Mohammed bin Hamad Al-Thani, Director of the Public Health, Ministry of Public Health. We will now hand over to Dr. Sitaraman, Chief Executive Officer of Doha Bank, to deliver the concept note.
Thank you. What a joy and delight to be integral part of this interesting combination of institutions and their leaderships, trying to bring the overall perspective in terms of economic development and the opportunities in Qatar. Qatar is a country of great substance. In the last 15 months, ever since COVID was pronounced as a pandemic, the economic governance, social governance, environmental governance, and human governance have been exemplary. We have seen the reflection in terms of policy procedures, redefining to cope up with the changing dynamics. In the day, Qatar is outstanding performance. Combination of speakers today, exemplary in pursuit of the practicing profession, what the industry they belong to is very much evident. Mr. Yusuf Jai, that is a star in terms of management of his institution, Qatar Financial Center. Rashid Al Mansouri, prolific in terms of the overall administration of Qatar Exchange, and he has shown the new initiatives, as good as last week when he signed a deal with in Moscow, aligning in total terms with the capital markets coming together between Russia and Qatar. We also have Qatar Development Bank. The efforts to bring in sustainability, making sure the overall economic sustenance is not getting challenged for small and medium-sized entrepreneurs. With the changing pace of the world, with the changing pace of digital transformation, including creating a FINTECH hub, their contribution in the last 1 year has been prolific and highly professional. The most awaited inputs we all need from the healthcare sectors, the global pandemic, whether it's a first wave or second wave, what is in store for the coming days, has been a curiosity for many, for us to know what exactly in the offering. But having said that, we lost nearly 3.74 million people around the world. We also had 175 million people impacted. Even now, when those has been given for nearly 2.12 billion people, and fully vaccinated is 568 million. That is hardly 5.9% of the global population. But Qatar, what have exactly been the accomplishments? We know it's over 40% has been fully vaccinated, but the details are coming through from none other than the professional consultant doctor of meritocracy in the medical professions. He's joining from Moscow after attending the St. Petersburg Economic Forum. He's kind enough to dial in from Moscow, Dr. Sheikh Mohammed, Director of Public Health in Qatar administration. So we have a combination of speakers who are going to enlighten you with the changing dynamics, what exactly Qatar continuing governance and why Qatar is still an opportunity. Not only we know the risk, we also know the development which Qatar has envisaged with the committed 2030 vision. And that's what precisely His Highness Emir has enlightened in the St. Peter's Economic Forum. Now, from my perspective, as a financial institution, we have a lot to say, but I'm going to limit my content for the next 7 to 8 minutes to showcase the various developments in the last 1 year to ensure the financial stability is not getting challenged. The debt servicing capacity, which was impaired on account of this COVID, is not an issue. Qatar's economic sustenance in terms of the overall liquidity, productivity, and profitability, even sectoral momentum, has not diminished. And that's what exactly I would like to highlight. Now, global economies are still reeling under pressure. We all know. We have reasons to believe the economic indications which came from IMF in October was continuously getting challenged. 2020 October, in the annual meeting, which was virtual again, was projecting over 6.5%. Then it was revised downward in April 6%. Advanced economies are supposed to do around 5.1%. And developing economies, emerging markets, are progressing to the tune of 6.7%. And Middle East, North Africa, Afghanistan, Pakistan put together around 3.5%. That's again today. Today, World Bank has challenged it. Let's look at the numbers which was originally projected. Now, today's outcome is still challenging. Instead of 6% growth, it has been revised downward to 5.6%. When it comes to advanced economies, instead of 5.1%, it is moving up to 5.4% because they are vaccinated, majority of the public. Countries like United States, extraordinary administration in terms of execution. And they have administered so well, and they are back in track in terms of overall economic momentum. When it comes to developing economies, emerging economies, there is a downward revision by World Bank from 6.7 to 6%. So this combination in aggregate term, global growth has been revised downward from 6% to 5.4%. So that's the situation. When it comes to economic sustenance, US Fed action has been exemplary. They are contemplating whether to taper further, whether to increase the interest rate, whether the inflation is permanent or temporary. It's all transitory. Most of the economists understand it is transitory. And we also have to understand it's not one single window we can influence the interest rate. We have to look at the jobless claims. Unless the jobless claims are reducing, employment opportunities are created, Federal Reserve Chairman has spelled it out. Again, US Treasury Secretary is on consonance with holding on the low interest rate. See, that's the synchronized model across the globe. And that's what exactly the issues are all about. Now, when it comes to Qatar economy, I'm sure, is in the right direction. I'm sure my colleagues are going to showcase, Yusuf will, many of the micros he will deal with. Now, 2030 vision, which was enlightened to the Russian audience, global audience by Anas Emir, has spelled out many of the directions. The human development, social development, environment development, and the governance allied to all this economic development essentially is concentrating on many spheres in terms of professional advancement for healthcare, education, digital transformations, and again, advanced manufacturing. So many of the synchronized policies in line with the National Development Program Qatar has envisaged is being executed. And that's what perhaps I will give it as a snapshot. Now, the fiscal policy has been prudent. The budget has been framed. $40, but the reality is different. It's first quarter reported over 62.5 per barrel. Now, the second quarter again is averaging around $65. So Qatar's fiscal deficit of 35 billion is a history. When it comes to government expenditure, 194 billion is definitely there, we know. When it comes to revenues, perhaps it will be increasing because of the reflection of the oil price. So we will have current account surplus, possibly fiscal surplus as well as possible. So the government expenditure has been redirected in many forms on the priority: healthcare, education, sports, transportations, environment, municipal development, urban development. And those are priorities Qatar is modernizing and integrating with the rest of the world. Second, and central bank has taken extraordinary decisions, and we have seen the reflection in terms of debt servicing, easing the individuals or institutions, small or medium. Qatar Development Bank, I'm sure Mr. Khalid will enlighten, has taken enormous support, to the small and medium-sized entrepreneurs. Extraordinary waivers and ensuring the small and medium-sized entrepreneurs are not at distress. Wage protection or rentals or duties. And again, with a combination of commercial banks and Qatar Development Bank coming together, ensuring debt servicing is eased, waived on occasions. Overall, if you look at the policy promulgations, the pronouncement has been debt servicing, installment waiver, or interest waiver has been deferred till September. With the second or third or mutants which is prevailing, we don't know when the crisis will end. Dr. Sheikh Mohammed will end like central bank has unveiled a currency note. And we have seen the momentum. If you look at the latest combined banking position, credit growth is around 5.6% for the last 4 months. Deposit growth is around 4.2%. We're also seeing the growth in many sectors. Government has borrowed 12%. When it comes to retail, 5.85%. Look at the overall productivity index in Qatar. Month after month, 1 to 1.5% growth is there. Production, manufacturing, the PMI index is also exemplary in terms of economic momentum. We have seen the acceleration in the contract financing. Trade is 0.5% growth so far. And we also seen real estate has grown by 0.5% compared to the previous year. So there is an all-round growth and sustainable economic momentum. That's what we want to tell you to the global audience. Hydrocarbon development, the minister has spelled out, we are going to move in the North Field East from 77 to 110 by 2025. Again, when it comes to South, 110 to 125 by 2025, this is all going to add value to the overall deal. If I put in one fabric, oil equivalent of 1.4 million additional barrels will be pumped. That's the revenue we are targeting. That's going to be a major boost for the overall fiscal consolidation as well as the monetary situation, financial stability for the country for years to come. And that's what the reassurance the government is telling you. They have taken right decisions to support further. In April, the cabinet met. The reforms have been exemplary, and they're going to continue to support, knowing the market conditions, knowing the global scene in terms of the healthcare. Trade has moved. If you look at the volumes, it has touched 13 billion, it's double in terms of exports. And that's beautiful. That's very, very conciliatory when it comes to solid financial structure. Now, when it comes to FIFA, 2022 has been in the right trend. Now we have sustainable World Cup, and COVID has accelerated more interest in this process. Essentially, the support which is coming from the global football lovers and the reforms which are coming up in terms of the governance of the overall FIFA administrations 2022 is going to be state of the world. And that's what we are all looking for. This World Cup will be different, and that's what exactly the situation is all about. Qatar Airways has taken enormous amount of initiatives. Arguably, their connections are expanding globally, and they've run a fully vaccinated flights, and that's the first of its kind in the world. That shows tremendous amount of leadership. It's the airport, seaport, name it, every single port, whether Ruwais or Doha, every one as HAMAD port for that matter. If you look at the volume, it tripled. That's what you should understand as a global audience. Qatar is in the right direction. Qatar Free Zone has been set with, it is 3 billion is what the layout they have allocated to support the small and medium-sized entrepreneurs. It is strategically located. We all know if we look at the geographical location of Qatar, 3 continents are interfacing it, and we are going to have extraordinary opportunities. Qatar Financial Center itself is an opportunity. I'm sure my colleague Yusuf Jaida, prolific speaker he is going to enlighten you. And we have business opportunities in multiple forms, whether sports or digital, financial, or media. Investment laws have changed. Investment laws have been outstanding. Now, in 2019, it was pronounced clearly that 100% ownership, including allocation of land, even for non-Qataris, is possible, right? Then came public-private partnership model last year, May. His Highness Emir has pronounced the public-private partnership model. That is another combination. That is where the healthcare and education, now the business is actually happening. We have many schools are coming up. Now, Barwa as an institution is integrating these opportunities in making sure the public utilities, healthcare, and education comes in with the public-private partnership model. That's reassuring to one and all. Property laws have changed. That's in October last year. Expatriate can own. If you put $1 million money as an investment, then you have a permanent residency with healthcare and education value advantage. So Qatar is refining itself in substance. As an investment destinations, we have seen reflection. Our competitive business climate is improving. Qatar foreign ownership this year, April, I'm sure my colleague Rashid Mansouri is going to enlighten what it means to the overall inflow of investments. So these are not ordinary promulgations. Qatar has got a considered vision. That is what we need to understand. April 2021, they have said foreign ownership limits are going to be relaxed. 100% you can own. Qatar Exchange Traded Funds as an indicator, barometer of the Qatar market. We have very successful administration on that. That's shaping up well. And Doha Bank itself is a party to it. And we have seen food security. Blockade gave enough self-sustenance, and we have reasons to believe food security has been well-founded now. We have no shortage of food whatsoever, whatever be the contingency situations. Qatar FinTech Hub, I'm sure Mr. Khalid is going to enlighten as a part of his overall presentations. They are the leader in the game. And Doha Bank is also having this partnership with QDB to promote innovation in the frame. We have seen many sandboxes are getting set to promote value advantage for innovation and entrepreneurship. So plenty of reasons to believe we have business startups are shaping up, business climate is improving, and we have a business to make. If you need sustainable value creations, Qatar is a location. In global scene, we have seen progressive policy decisions which are influencing. Qatar is also a party to Zero Net Emission Club. Whether solar or wind, we have enough reasons to believe LNG itself is energy efficient, environment friendly. That has got long-term energy mix change across the globe, including emerging markets. Sustainable development journey is committed. Qatar's visionary leadership is committed for sustainable development journey. And that's what the excitement is all about. We are caring for the nature. We have a considered focus. Not only we concentrate on hydrocarbon, we are here to make sure we create better world, better citizenship to this world. That's my introduction. And now, let me have the pleasure of welcoming the Qatar Development Executive Director, Khalid Al-Mana, to present his outcome of the activities over the last 1 year. Over to you, Khalid.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم. First of all, thank you, Dr. Sitraman, for inviting me in this event. It's a pleasure to be here at the event with the wonderful group of friends and colleagues presenting with me today. I would also like to congratulate you, Dr. Sitraman. This Doha Bank event has been a highlight. I remember attending, I think it was the first one back in the summer of 2017 after the blockade. And ever since, the Doha Bank event has been a hugely successful event. So congratulations to you and everybody working in Doha Bank for making it a success. I'll be sharing some slides with you today about Qatar Development Bank and as well what we have been doing in these times during the pandemic. So allow me to share my screen. I hope it's clear to you, Dr. Sitterman.
Yes, I could see the presentation, yes.
Okay, so I would like to start by talking about the topics that I would be covering today. First of all, I will be talking about the resilience of the Qatari economy, the effectiveness of the Qatar government's response to COVID-19, the implications of the pandemic on the local economies, and the initiatives taken by QDB in response to the pandemic. And I'll close out with the QDB potential areas for growth. So with Qatar's economy in 2020, we have seen a contraction. Due, of course, for the pandemic. The pandemic has hit many economies around the world, and Qatar was not, a country that has not been hit by the pandemic. Like other economies around, we have been hit, and we witnessed a 4.5 contraction of the economy. The good news is that in 2021 we are expected to see a growth of 2.5%. And from our perspective, when I'm dealing as well with my customers here in the bank, I can tell you that we have had a slowdown perhaps in the new greenfield projects that are coming, but we have seen a better quality of projects. I think the pandemic and as well the economic situation is giving the entrepreneurs more time to think and as well be more selective in the ways that they approach their businesses. Trade, you mentioned as well, Dr. Sitterman, we've had $100 billion in trade in 2019 in Asia alone. We in QDB, of course, are focusing on the trade and increasing the trade of the small and medium enterprises. And that also has seen significant changes. We have also been in the Russian, part of the Russian trip to St. Petersburg, and we have signed 75 million riyals worth of deals between Qatari exporters and Qatar, mainly the small and medium factories, with potential Russian buyers. And this was a highlight as well for our delegation and our trip to Russia. The next topic is, of course, Qatar is witnessing significant changes in its infrastructure. The big port, we have a big airport, we have the major stadiums coming up, and as well we are, of course, witnessing state-of-the-art, world-class trade zones in Al-Hul and Abu Fantas. And these are giving us an opportunity to witness as well economic growth for the future. Now, Qatar as well was able to face, I think, the crisis with minimal effect, and the upgrade of Moody's with the AAA3 stable outlook is a good sign of the resilience and our effectiveness to response. This is not our first crisis that we have with the blockade. We faced a similar situation back in 2017, and Qatar, again, for the second time during the pandemic, alhamdulillah, is resilient, and we look as well into the future with a lot of positive thinking. The state of Qatar took a very direct approach in dealing with the pandemic on all levels by quickly enforcing precautionary measures and accelerating the growth towards digital transformation and continuing the diversification in its economy away from the hydrocarbon sector. Now, as well, if we also look at the country in the oil and gas, although in the past 10 years there was a little bit of a slow, there was not a lot of new business development. However, we are now looking at a major expansion in the North Field of Qatar, which we expect it will also bring significant economic development, not just in the oil and gas field, but a lot of the supporting companies that will help in building Qatar Qatar to remain the prime LNG natural gas exporter in the world today. So what was QDB's response to the pandemic? And Doha Bank has been, along with all the commercial banks in Qatar, a major help in supporting us deal with the pandemic. We've seen a lot of loan holidays that we have given to our customers. Of course, with the support of the Ministry of Finance, with the support of the directions of His Highness the Emir and the Prime Minister and the Cabinet, we have been providing the private sector with two main things. One, of course, was the rescheduling of the loans during the pandemic, which we are continuing to do with almost all our customers. As well, we have developed the National Guarantee Program. The National Guarantee Program is a 5 billion Qatari Riyal program, and QDB has been mandated by the government to deploy this program to the private sector so that they can survive the pandemic and hopefully after the pandemic is over, continue with their growth and their aspirations for the future. We have now deployed around 3.2 billion out of the 5 billion there, and we are continuing to receive applications, and we will continue to receive applications all the way up till September of 2021. But of course, dealing with the pandemic was different for us because, as you know, in the past, our normal banking will involve dealing face-to-face with customers. So digitizing the way we deal with our customers has been a focus, and it has been an area that we were pushed, I guess, to our limits. And I think when we were pushed to the limits, a lot also creativity comes. And the beautiful thing here that about the National Guarantee Program, more than 4,000 customers have applied to the system without face-to-face interaction. It has all been digitized. The applications come on the portal and the approvals go into the portal with speed, efficiency, and as well safely without having the risk of spreading the disease when you're in face-to-face interaction. So that was a great opportunity for digitization. But even before that, we have had ambitions through a program in QDB called NUMO. NUMO is our project to digitize all our banking activities in QDB. And we've taken this decision back in the summer of 2019. So this was even before the pandemic. And we developed our first platform for our customers for reactivation of their short-term finances without the need to go with paper. This is all digital now, and we're giving it to our customers, where our customers go online and they apply for a reactivation of their expired limits. And of course, as I said, the ambition is to go even with our greenfield lending towards this. Our achievements in 2020 also have been an area that we are very proud of. We continue to grow. We had a 9% growth in our direct lending in 2020. We work with targets, and we have continued to hit our targets during the pandemic. And we growed, of course, our loan book. Now we have 862 SMEs benefiting from our financing. Our export financing has grown by 18%. And we have a 20% growth in capital invested in SMEs. As you know, in QDB, we not only lend money, but also we invest in small and medium enterprises and startups. And that also saw some activity. During our trip to Russia, we took 9 of our startups with us where they were able to pitch to Russian investors. And that was also a highlight for us. One of the other areas that we focus on is also capacity building. And we delivered during the pandemic most of our capacity building and training online. And this also saw a significant demand and growth during the 2020. In our access to international markets, the efforts that have been conducted by our Tasdeer team has also been very strong during the pandemic as well, most of them online. And most of the focus has been on providing our services to our customers online. Usually we would go to events and participate in exhibitions abroad. But of course, due to the pandemic and due to COVID this year, this is not possible. However, we delivered this online this year. Another achievement for us was that we were able to issue our barcodes for our producers in Qatar. It's 630. The G5 barcode is 630 for Qatar. And this is now the product number for anything made in Qatar to be exported internationally. Of course, this did not exist in the past. We were using barcodes from other countries for our products. Now we have our own Qatari number. Other areas of focus has been as well for access to the local markets has been active during the pandemic, and as well our supporting the government agenda through the providing our housing loans and the management of our Al Furjan markets, and as well the delivering the first phase of Al Azab markets. The SME ecosystem development also, we saw some great reports coming out from our statistics team, which are available for everyone to read and get more knowledge about these reports. So with this, I would like to conclude my presentation, and I thank you for the time.
Thank you, Khalid. I think it's very enlightening to show how much QDB has done in these challenging times. Few questions have come. One is, I'm going to make it brief, and your response will be brief as well. What are the lessons from COVID-19 which SMEs can learn? There are still questions are flowing.
I think that you need to be more cautious with your money. In the past, I think when everything was normal, people did not value perhaps the value of spending and being more efficient in spending. I think the pandemic gave a lot of lessons to the organizations to make sure that the money and the efficiency in spending is done in the right way. Time as well, I think, has been spent more efficiently during the pandemic because of our use of digital media and digital ways that has as well shifted our mindset towards being more digitally oriented. And the other perhaps thing in my opinion is that the future is always bringing in opportunities. Whether you're hit in one area, that doesn't mean the end of the world. You need to look closer and look for other opportunities elsewhere, because the opportunities will be there if you look closely.
Okay, the next question is, what are the new sectors in Qatar in which SMEs are mushrooming? Manufacturing or fintech? Right.
Fintech definitely, I think, has seen a lot of demand and a lot of growth, and we're seeing a lot of companies and ambitious young entrepreneurs mostly going into the space with great ideas and great solutions. As you know, we have the FinTech Accelerator as well for QDB, which has been very active, not just this year, but from the year before. We also, I think, e-commerce, whether it's local or international, e-commerce has also been a significant area of development during this year.
The last question, a very important question, of course, not the least. What are the overseas companies, how are the overseas companies rather, responding to the Qatar free zone? Has it been flowing well? How many companies are registered, and what is the outcome in terms of SME as well?
Well, Dr. Sitterman, I don't have, of course, the numbers for the free zone. That's a different authority. However, we in Qatar Development Bank have developed a MOU with the Qatar Free Zones Authority, where we can provide lending to companies in the free zone. And this was a significant, I think, point for us. We did this 2 years ago, where we have signed this MOU, and right now we've actually financed, I believe, two factories in the free zones under this MOU.
Right. It's a big opportunity to looking at the infrastructure and the strategic location, as I earlier mentioned. I heard, a month before, over 130 companies are already operational. So more and more SMEs should come around the world. I'm inviting, experiment your infrastructure creation here and get on with small and medium-sized settings here, and you will have value advantage. Everything is getting in terms of easing your business, and that's what Qatar is providing you. Thank you. Well done, Khalid. I appreciate your inputs. I'm sure the audience across the globe will find it useful. There are questions still flowing from various parts of the world. For want of time, I'm restricting it. I'll send you the questions later. Thank you. Let me move on to the next speaker. My good friend, CEO of Qatar Exchange, Rashid Al-Mansouri. He stands for innovation, and he's taken a lot of initiatives. Let us listen to Rashid. Rashid.
Thank you, my friend. I really honored to be this combination of leaders in Qatar, and I work with all of you here, and QDB, we get a lot of support for them. They are our pipeline for SMEs, and they created a good fund to support people who want to come to the list. They take some burden of their listing advisor expenses. I work with Mr. and friend Yusuf Al Jada. He's also, some of his companies listed, and we're working in a new venture together. And of course, we work with you. We have funds. And Minister of Health and Dr. Mohammed with us today to make sure that we are healthy. We don't have business, but we have health with them. We had all of our cards and numbers. So he makes sure that we are vaccinated and we're supporting the economy. So I'm happy to see you all again. And, I would take you, for a journey of 3 years, from during the blockade and the pandemic, and the performance of Qatar Stock Exchange during these years. Surprisingly, in 2019, our daily turnover was 270 million per day. Today, my average daily turnover is 500 plus million. 2020, it was around 400 plus. That means there is a growth in our economy. And why there is a growth? It doesn't come by itself. No, nothing like that. Of course, we can see the work of the collaboration between all of us, whether people who's here in the panel or also people who's not with us today, our regulator, our central bank, my chairman and his support. All of those people really has a part of this success. I think there is something that we noticed during the pandemic is the intensive work and activities of retail investors. And, a lot of stocks here are held by Qatari individual, and because of the, and most of them are working and the staying at home and, just 20% at work, more or less, give a chance to the people in the home to look at the screen again, to open the screen, to see the market watch, and to see the opportunities there in Qatar market. And during this time, also we launched a local campaign for locals and for also for Qataris and also for expat, Arabic and English. And that also was welcomed, and we had a lot of account opening. We introduced a number of products that will enhance our liquidity, which is, for example, margin trading. And we have also liquidity providers. We have also advanced exemption of advance payment. All this also contributed to our market and to our liquidities. More things to come. We are working with the regulator also to bring new tools like security lending and borrowing and omnibus account and others to come. Of course, the announcement of the cabinet of the FOL was really important for us. And we saw the market reaction from the first day. And that day we had like 1 billion of trade when second day of the announcement. And we're expecting toward the end of the year, this will also increase because we have a number of companies that announced that they will go FOL. And I would love to see Doha Bank announcing this too, Dr. Sitterman. So I'd like to hear it from you today, okay? So that will help us a lot. Okay, I think, we talked about also, this when we are at St. Petersburg about, promoting Qatar market and what's opportunity are there. I see a brighter future for our market because there is a lot of collaboration between the stakeholders. Of course, we still need, to be honest, we still need to work in our enhancing our regulatory environment. I'm not, saying that our environment is well regulated, but also we need always to revise the regulation and make it more welcoming. I'm looking for a smarter regulation, not harsh regulation. I will not compromise, of course, market regulation because it's very important. It's give confidence to the investor, but also with some smart thing. We need to see digital account opening in 5 minutes. I was sitting with one of broker in St. Petersburg, and he said, the account opening in 5 minutes. I said, it's impossible. He said, yes. And he showed me. It's 5 minutes he opened or less. Why not here? Me and you, Dr. Sitterman, we already have our IDs. We have accounts in the banks. So with that Qatari ID, I should open my account in a few seconds. Of course, if I'm not living in Qatar, it could take 24 hours, it's okay. But for locals, I would think it's just a matter of request and pay the fees if there is fees. And you remember when we came 8-9 years ago, we watched the cycle of account opening and we enhanced it a little bit. We gave the broker the capability of opening the account. We requested the banks and we requested QCSD to allow the bank to open the account and make it easier for all of us, and so on. Enhancement of the market it is ongoing, and we need to be innovative in our market. We have a local roots as exchange with international and global ambition. So that will not just come from the exchange itself. It needs all of us working together, especially the regulator and the central depository. So the cooperation is there, but we also need more of that. We are enhancing our market. We are introducing derivatives. We are introducing the CCP and so on. We are listing number of ETFs this year, or one ETF at least this year. And also we are looking to list other SME called McDam. It's already in the final stage. It's with the regulator. So we are waiting for the regulator to approve it so we can go ahead. Again, we thank QDB for all support. They're always supporting us on this, and we have committees. And since Khalid with us today also, we are thinking, and I think there is the initiative between both of us to create some program for, to enhance this program for SMEs. I know that QDB has, have equity, or either they call it partner or equity partner in some of those companies that they are sponsoring. Those companies, we should make sure that they come to the stock market. A long time ago also, we initiated what we call it startup exchange, and we called it Silicon Dunes, and we're still thinking of that, and we want to bring it to the life when the time, but too much in our plate now, so we need to make sure that we success in our cash market now, in our SME, in our derivatives market, and then we will go next to the other initiatives that we have. And as I said, we are in the market together with you, Dr. Sitterman, and the others on the panel. And of course, we work all hand in hand to make sure that the Qatar market stay ahead. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's very informative. Tell me now, you talked about April announcement of foreign ownership limit getting changed from 49% to 100%. That's an extraordinary gesture. And now more and more listed companies will contemplate adoption coming to terms. How much foreign inflows do you expect on account of these regulations? Do you expect multi-billions? What's your estimate in terms of the
I mean, the foreign investors are very active in our market. And as I see now my screen here, they are around 11% plus minus, but they are very active. They're sometimes responsible for 30%, 40% of daily turnover. From the beginning of the year, there is more, it's almost 1 billion of inflow of foreign cash in Qatar market. We are expected from the upgrade of 7 companies only, not the whole companies. We're expecting a minimum of $1.5 billion from passive investor, and from active investor, a lot more than that. So these will be an addition to our market for about 6-7 companies only that will be upgraded, or their weight will be upgraded in MSCI index. We're expecting if more of those companies are increasing their FOL, and we hope this will happen within the next couple of months. They need an AGM for that, but that's what I'm expecting.
Interesting. Now, the COVID has accelerated the ESG governance. Now, tell me, any new update on the ESG governance? You already, UNCC compact, we have all have signed, and the sustainability reports are being produced, governance reports are produced. What is the change or updates in ESG?
Okay, as you know, locally in the Qatar Stock Exchange, we have a ESG committee that we're working with our, listed company, and by the end of this year, we will have our website populated for the user, and by 2023, it will be mandatory for all the listed company. So, as you know, it's very important. And even within a single investor, Now they are asking about the company and what the company produce and how would they work. Are they environmental friendly or not? So they are the individual investors now is thinking, where I put my money? He will take his money from company that's not environmental friendly and put it in a different company. And by October, we are, and that's good to announce now, we will launch our own ESG index.
Now, we know the price to book value or even price to earning. Looking at the economic fundamentals, still the market is not rightly being priced. It's grossly underpriced. Are you signing new collaboration with the global exchanges? What's your plan?
Yes, I mean, that's a good question. As I said, now we met a couple of exchanges. As you know, we signed with Moscow Stock Exchange, an MOU. We signed with St. Petersburg Exchange, and we have other exchanges like Istanbul and others. And we are having an action point, and actually next week we are acting on all of these agreements. We agreed a number of few things like dual listing, ETF listing, and cooperation on other technical matters between those two exchanges, data link between markets, and so on. So this also will we will help both markets, win-win.
Good. Good. Thank you for enlightening the audience. It's a market where everyone should explore. It's a very promising country. The economic fundamentals, short, medium, and long term, is going to be very futuristic. And we have seen the hydrocarbon momentum Qatar is envisaging. This is a market to invest. And initiatives taken by exchanges, well outlined by none other than the CEO of Qatar Exchange. Thank you, Rashid. Well done. Now, let me move on to your next speaker. A phenomenal success ever since he took over as CEO. My friend, Yusuf Jada he means his business. He has taken a lot of initiatives and sporadically, the exponential growth in terms of number of institutions who are connected with Qatar Financial Center. Let us listen to the Chief Executive of Qatar Financial Center, Mr. Yusuf Jada. Please.
Thank you, Dr. Sita. It's a pleasure to be back here. I think last time I was on your event was slightly before COVID, and I gave a macroeconomic situation picture on Doha. I'm in Qatar, and today I intend to continue the macroeconomic picture, but from a post-COVID snapshot. And I think your international audiences will appreciate it, because I think the most asked question today in the world is how our economy is reacting post-COVID. So allow me a few minutes to share the presentation. So I hope you can see it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, well, once again, thank you, Dr. Sita. What I intend to do in this presentation is to give you a macroeconomic snapshot on Qatar's economy post-COVID, meaning 2019 onwards, with a specific focus on 2021 onwards as well. And for your international audience, I think it's worth introducing Qatar, especially for those who are not familiar with Qatar. Qatar is a small, wealthy, ambitious country with 2.6 million people. We are known for having one of the highest GDP per capita in the world, around 97,000. We are also known to have a global sovereign wealth fund, which is ranked amongst the top 10 sovereign wealth funds at around 340 billion US dollars. We are also known to be the largest LNG exporter in the world. LNG, which is liquefied natural gas. Currently, Qatar produces 77 million tons and is embarking on a massive expansion plan to target around 110 million tons in a very short upcoming 3 to 4 year period. Qatar is also known to invest heavily on its infrastructure, and hence the upcoming 2022 World Cup with the 8 stadiums currently a year and a half away from launching the event. And Qatar continues, of course, to invest in its roads, its health sector, its education sector, and in its national port and airport. And last but not least, of course, Qatar is very well known for its highest credit rating, one of the highest credit ratings in the region and the world. Despite COVID and despite the previous blockade, Qatar has maintained a very high credit rating globally. So what I will do is give you a snapshot on some of the statistics. We'll talk about trade, the fiscal outlook, current account, and some of the policy changes that the government has taken. Some of you have already touched upon that, so I'll touch upon it real quick. And then finally, a brief introduction to the Qatar Financial Center, which is the institution I represent here in Qatar. So our economy, of course, as you can see from the graphs, just like any other economy in the world, has experienced a downturn in 2019 and 2020. In 2019, it was estimated that there was a drop of between 2 to 4%, 2% in 19 and 3% in 2020. However, the IMF has projected that Qatar's real GDP will grow by 2.4% in 2021 and 3.6% in 2022. Of course, the hydrocarbon sector is expected to realize a much better performance due to the recovery in oil prices and due to the expansion plans that Qatar Petroleum intends to pursue for the next 4 to 5 years. So we can comfortably say that 2021 onwards will be positive years for Qatar. Growth will be back on track, and hopefully the COVID situation will be behind us. These are some business conditions that show signs of improvement. If you look at the Purchasing Managers Index, industrial production, loans to private sector, all of these have shown recently, as of February 2021, a massive improvement, indicating that the economy, hopefully, especially with the lifting of some of the restrictions as of last month, the economy is back towards an uptrend, despite being slow. However, we are looking at an uptrend in most indices relevant to the private sector. Compared to the rest of the GCC, of course, Qatar, according to the figures, is going to be the third fastest, if not the second. But the entire region, of course, is growing as
Yusuf? No? Pull him back.
He lost connection on his side.
He lost his connection. Coordination is on now. And some of the questions which So he's back. Right. We lost his connection again. Question has come, how do you see the overall GDP growth for this year and next year for Qatar? This year, we should be reporting around 3% with the current oil price and the manufacturing index. You've seen the overall productivity should reach 3%. Next year, it will be more. Another question has come, what is the gross debt to GDP? Qatar borrowing is still measurable. It's 59.8%, all inclusive. And essentially, in line with the emerging market index, our borrowings is, and even within the GCC definition, with the progressive Qatar's economic momentum and the investment on the hydrocarbon and non-hydrocarbon Qatar is engaging in, it is measurable, manageable, and controllable. These are the two questions that come in general terms. We also have another questions on the Rashid. Before.
Yes, you are.
Before we get back. Yes, you're there. Now, one more question. What are the new initiatives you are planning? Any new initiatives which will lift Qatar Exchange, brand equity, and the listed enterprises?
Well, there is something I can tell you, something I cannot tell you.
Understandable.
Okay. Well, actually, you know, the initiatives, I'm sure, you know, the derivatives is number one. Promoting our market to advanced market is number two. So we are aiming in 2023 we'll be ready for, you know, advanced market status. Of course, we are carrying all things that we need to reach there, increasing the FOL and the individual ownership also. We are improving our regulatory environment for that. We are introducing the derivatives, as I mentioned, and some other tools required by the indices provider to reach that status. So these are the more important things. Of course, we're still trying to increase the listing of companies, and we have two programs for that. We will announce them soon, inshallah.
Another question to you is, are you planning for a real estate ETF?
Yes, we have a number of candidates. Now we are working with a number of them. So what we call it REITs. So we hope we will have something solid toward the end of this year. We are working with the 3 or 4 real estate owners to transfer to REITs.
That's a very important, you know, once ETF real estate comes in, even the, you know, Qatar has got a limited land space, and the temporary setbacks on account of COVID in terms of market reflection or diminution of values, whether it is residential or office space, can be restored if there is a good, you know, ETF, exchange traded fund. And you heard, audience, you heard what the CEO of Qatar Exchange is saying. It is in the making now. What about SME? That's the last question I have here for you.
What?
SME listing. SME listing.
Yes, the next SME, we are just waiting for the final approval from the regulator. It's ready. It is an IT and security company called Migdam. We are supposed to list it in June or July maximum. So we are waiting only for the regulator. So it will be second company. And we have about pipeline. As I said, we are working very close with the QDB to increase these numbers, and these pipelines also coming from QDB.
We got our friend back. Welcome back, my dear Yusuf. Meanwhile, the audience question I was having a conversation with. Yeah,
Yes.
please.
Where did I get cut out?
You can start.
Second slide, third slide, which were
What?
the graphs we are showing on PMI index.
Oh, wow, that's way
The
back.
PMI. Yeah.
What's
You can just click on that side.
where?
On the
Here?
yeah. Yes, just move slide.
Yeah.
Doctor, so where was I? The private sector indices. So it's been 10 minutes, huh? Listen, what I will do is let me go into the policy actions and then conclude with the KFC introduction. How's that?
Sure. And I have a few questions for you. Questions are there for you because you're the most wanted man again. Apart from many others, people are curious to ask questions, so I have to ask you questions.
Yeah, that's fine. But let me just. Okay, I'm going to jump into the financial sector.
Yeah.
And then take it from there and hopefully just cover the most relevant slides. So it's important to, anyway, just to summarize the previous slides, I would conclude by saying that the economy in Qatar is on a uptrend starting in 2020, and all the indicators I showed point towards that. I can share the presentation post this, and apologies once again. But I'm going to jump into the financial sector. If you look at the international reserves, Qatar Central Bank reserves, they've been on an increasing trajectory for the past 5 years. This is important to see. We've seen an increase from 43 billion to 56 billion up to 2021. If we look at also non-resident deposits, they've increased around 105% since 2016, which indicates massive confidence in the Qatari economy. And if we look at the credit facilities in the financial sector, they've also been increasing at a compounded annual growth rate of 6% from 230 billion in 2016 to 322 billion in 2021. And again, Qatar and its rating is among the highest credit ratings in the entire GCC, and we continue to maintain that. This has to do with the stock market. Of course, with COVID, there was an impact. However, we can see how the 2021, we see positive returns as of March at 4.4%. In 2018, we had the best performing market in the world at 21%. Of course, 2019, 2020, even though it was still positive, it was at a lower single digit return. These are some of the policy actions that were taken by the government of Qatar. 75 billion was the total support. We've heard about the QDB program, 3 billion riyals, which was extended to the private sector. The government also postponed loan repayments in multiple sectors, including the real estate sector. We've seen temporary exemptions from payment of rent whenever it applied. We've seen extension of tax returns. We've seen temporary exemptions from payment of water and electricity fees by the government, and exemptions on customs for food and medicine. There was 50 billion riyals that was also lent to the banking system in the form of repos, and there was 10 billion that was invested in the stock exchange again. So 75 billion of support was lent out by the government to cater for COVID. Some of the reforms that we've touched upon, Dr. Sita touched upon this, but we can see that in January 2019, the investment of non-Qataris into corporation was allowed at 100% without the need for a local partner. In March 2019, we've seen the real estate law that allowed non-Qataris to own in additional areas and places. And we've seen non-Qataris also being exempted from income tax in line with the regulations and the new income tax law, indicating that Qatar will continue to pursue economic development and reforms to, of course, increase the population, increase foreign direct investment, and increase full-time employment jobs in the economy. Qatar Financial Center, a brief introduction. We basically are one of the platforms that allows for foreign direct investment in the state. We have a vision of transforming Doha into a leading global financial and commercial capital. Our mission is in line with Qatar's National Vision 2030, which is to drive economic development and diversification by providing a world-class commercial, legal, and regulatory environment. What we provide is a legal and judicial environment, best in class, English common law, which caters for international investors. We allow 100% foreign ownership. We're onshore, we're an onshore environment. And today, as of 2021, we have more than 1,200 companies in multiple activities. Our core business, of course, is financial services. So many of the international banks are established in the QFC. We have international insurance companies as well, asset management companies, and those are financial services companies. But we also allow a multitude of non-financial companies, professional services mostly, lawyers, accountants, advisors. We also allow management offices and business councils and professions, and all the financial structures required from holding companies to SPVs to trusts to management offices and treasury operations as well. These are some of the companies that we have currently in the QFC. As you can see, the big four, a lot of the financial institutions, a lot of the tech companies, whether it's Uber, Carriage, some of the media companies such as Bloomberg, Reuters. So we have a multitude of international companies established on the QFC platform. We intend to continue attracting international institutions to establish themselves in Qatar with the hope of creating more jobs and increasing the white collar population of the state of Qatar and developing the financial services sector in Qatar. Thank you very much. Apologies for the disconnect earlier. And if you have any questions, I'm willing to take them. Thank you.
Brilliant. See, 1,200 plus companies is remarkable. I mean, arguably, as you rightly said, best performing financial center in the world. So that's tremendous. Now, here's a few questions for you. How do you assess the performance and resilience of the Qatar economy heading for 2022? Overall, big picture you mentioned in terms of economics. Heading for 2022 with COVID, post-COVID, now where do you see the resilience and the performance track?
So as you know, Doctor, I think it's the World Bank that recently announced that they are about to witness the biggest boom in the past 100 years in the next 2 years. I don't know if I'm sure you've come across that. But I think Qatar's story does fit into that. And post-COVID, I think you will have a spike of demand in multiple areas, whether it's consumption, whether it's an investment, whether it's in other areas. But I think human psychology and I think the restrictions that we've witnessed in the past 2 years will basically result in a first of all, inflation and a massive increase of demand in multiple sectors, driving investments, driving travel, driving more appetite for tourism. So Qatar, I think, will be part of that boom, specifically since we are having the World Cup 2022. I think Qatar will see initially 2.8 to 2.9% just for this year, because the first 2 quarters were still closed. But 2022 onwards, I think we will see very high single-digit returns and which will impact, I think, the financial sector, consumption, retail sectors, and eventually the real estate sector as well. So I'm very optimistic. I think the last 2 years, the blockade years up to COVID, we have been resilient. We have maintained the economy despite peculiar and unpredictable situations that happened. And I think the years ahead will be a lot more better. And I expect that we will see growth levels that we haven't witnessed before.
There's a question which has come just now at 2:41. Mr. GCC lifting the blockade, has it helped Qatar?
Obviously, the answer to that is yes, of course. We can see from the statistics that 2017 was a difficult year, but the government acted in resilience and was able to maintain positiveness and resiliency. But there was definitely a negative impact, whether it's travel, whether it was in terms of local consumption, tourism, that had an impact, and the statistics do point towards that. If it wasn't for COVID, I would have said that we would have seen at least massive high single-digit growth levels, but due to COVID, I think the situation was not just local but global. But the simple things, opening the ports and opening the airports to Saudi Arabia and the UAE, and flights between those two countries, have definitely impacted positively at least the airline industry. We've seen a lot more tourism towards those countries and into Qatar, but given COVID, you can't really measure the success of that. Shipping lines are back to normal. So I think the impact was positive, and we will see the fruits of it, I think, post-COVID.
Very interesting answer, and you rightly said, yes, we have seen the reflection in the last few months. And the next question is, how do reforms and amending laws help increase the attractiveness of Qatar market to foreign investors?
So yeah, I mean, if you look at the policy changes, they all indicate towards one goal and one ambition, which is to open up for international investors and to make Qatar a home to foreigners and expats. As we can see from the real estate law, for example, if we take that, Qatar today allows 100% ownership in various areas. Qatar allows a permanent residency for any expat who invests north of $1 million. You get a permanent resident for that, or you get a 5-year resident permit for a $200,000 investment in any of the foreign designated areas. So I think, again, it's hard to measure these things because of COVID. Travel was restricted, so we can't see the impact of it. But we expect 2021, at least the last quarter onwards, that there are many Arab populations who want to choose Qatar as a home or a second home, and the permanent residency plan allows for that. We also think that there are other populations beyond the Arab population that would love to choose Qatar as a home, invest in Qatar. Qatar is one of the safest, most politically stable countries in the entire region. So Qatar allows for basically foreigners to invest, to live, and to choose Qatar as a future home. So the policies, at least in real estate and 100% ownership of companies, will have a positive impact. Maybe numbers are limited now in terms of permanent residencies. There's at least upwards of 100, but post-COVID, I'm very optimistic about the positive impact that this will have on the country, on the population, and on the economy as a whole.
Plenty of questions. I'll limit the last question to you. In light of Qatar's expected business growth, why do Asian markets hold special significance for the country?
So Asian markets, I mean, have always been significant to Qatar. First of all, I mean, if you look at our export destinations from the slide I just showed, the 5 first countries are Asian countries. India, China, South Korea, Pakistan. So Asia basically happens to be our biggest market in terms of export. However, not just that, but if you look at our LNG infrastructure, most of it was also built by Asian companies. So they have participated in the building of our nation. The biggest nationalities in Qatar are Asian nationalities, whether it's India, Pakistan. Those are one of the biggest nationalities that have participated in the building of the nation as well. Asia is the next destination for growth, believe it or not. I don't see much growth coming out of Europe. There will be growth in China and the US, but Asia will be driving growth levels into the next decade. If you look at China alone today, China as business activity represent 22% of global trade and business. So Asia is growing. Asia is, I think, the future. Our export market is in Asia. And a lot of our investments recently have gone towards Asia. So Asia will remain to be an important continent for Qatar, and we intend to invest in Asia for the next future.
Absolutely. The population demographic content, number one. Number two, increasing energy security required for these countries, plus Qatar's supply chain has been very well founded. You're right. And the growing relationship, changing energy mix within each country has been very advantageous mutually, and Asia plays a special role. Let me thank you once again, my dear Yusuf Mohammed Al Jaider, the CEO of Qatar Financial Authority. The next speaker is Dr. Mohammed Sheikh Dr. Mohammed bin Hamad bin Al Thani, Director of Public Health, Ministry of Public Health. All of us have become doctors in the last 15 months, somehow without a formal understanding. We're trying to protect ourselves, protect our loved ones and the friends and extended families. What is the authentic information, and what is the current story going on in the world, regional and local, especially? He's a Director of Public Health in the ministry. Last year, he gave a very meaningful content, and people appreciate it. And he is kind enough to join from Russia. He attended the St. Petersburg Economic Forum. He's now in Moscow. Let me have the great pleasure of welcoming Dr. Sheikh Mohammed bin Hamad bin Al Thani. Over to you, Sheikh.
Thank you, Mr. Sitterman. Thank you for this. Dear Mr. Sitterman, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Very good afternoon for all of you. My best regards from Moscow. Thank you for inviting me for this very important Qatar Economic Development and Opportunities. It's always great that economy and health work together to assure that Qatar is moving forward in the development of Qatar society and her friends internationally. So regarding health, I would like to be in a brief, because maybe speaking, we are at the end of the session, but in a brief, I would like to say what happened, where are we, how does the future look like, what was the strength to trust the Qatar healthy system, and what are the challenges that we are crossing in the coming months. So regarding what happened in Qatar, as you know, from London, and Qatar has been having a health system that was trusted during the last few years due to the different capacity and resources of human resources from different countries in the world working in health in a scientific way. So what happened the last year, as you know, the disease has been came to us from some countries and spread to the country, but we could handle the first wave, alhamdulillah, and this was the reason, because of a proper structure, a governance system in the country, from the high authority, from the Prime Minister, and the different committee that assured that the system was stable in decision and command. And the second thing was that during this, the capacity of health was preparing for the World Cup, and we have many strategies working, like national health strategy and public health strategy, which help us to build electronic systems like Cerner, then SAFEs for surveillance and vaccine. And last year, we could build HYDROCARBON to assure, with Ministry of Interior support, we could build HYDROCARBON to assure that people are monitored and assure that they don't spread the infection quickly. So the human resource and the technology and the decisions help us to move forward. I believe that people were complaining from some of the lockdowns, but they compare it to other countries in the lockdown. We have a very clear lockdown, and then we open the country gradually. So these things, we are from the first countries to hire to purchase vaccine, and alhamdulillah, we never have a very rare having shortage in any stock needed for the hospitals during this waves. So the second thing, where are we now today? Where are we now today? Alhamdulillah, we can see Qatar has been achieving in vaccination. We can see people above 50, around from 75 to 85% were vaccinated, which is like a herd immunity for this age. We are sadly, what we can see in most of the cases in ICU, like around 80% or more, they are only from the few people who didn't vaccinate yet, and we are encouraging them always to vaccinate, because it's clear that the vaccine has proven to be very effective with very minimum, almost zero to deaths after the vaccine from the second dose in the system. So we are hoping that encourage the last 15% to go. The other thing good that even HAMAD Medical Corporation and Qatar Airways have been vaccinating even more than around to 90% of their total, and going to inshallah to 95%, which assure like a herd immunity in the healthcare system and in Qatar Airways, would assure that this will not make a drops in the main system in Qatar. Qatar is proud again now that we didn't close our airport. We always opened our border to people, citizens to go and come back with some regulations and precautions, but whenever the country was closed, everybody can travel. So we can assure that Qatar has proven that the decisions were very wise, balanced. The precaution was there, but didn't stop people from moving and the economy from moving down. Of course, Qatar was affected by the international system and the neighboring countries' effect that was happening till now from this challenge. We are proud that the vaccine that we have, mainly Pfizer and Moderna, has proven to be the most efficient vaccines till now. And then we have very few AstraZeneca. And this is something that help us to lower the infection. Most of our now infection for the people who are vaccinated or have natural immunity, they are, if it happened to them, they are reactive. They don't cross the infection to other people, which assuring us that, inshallah, bigger outbreaks may not happen. And we are looking forward that we are covering, we can, inshallah, now we have small shortage of vaccine, very small shortage, but just to balance, to assure the plans, things will come back normal, inshallah, in 1 week from now. And we keep vaccinating people. We are targeting, our target was before into October. Now we are sure that, inshallah, we are mostly in the herd immunity. We are vaccinating young people, 16 to 18, and now 12 to 16. More than around 1/3 of people has taken the first dose, assuring us that things are going well with the vaccine and its effectiveness. So how does the future will look like? People will ask me, how does the future look like? Alhamdulillah, Qatar now is like from 5 to 10 countries in vaccinating first dose and second dose in the world. Will be from the first countries to get the herd immunity, the plan, inshallah, maybe, inshallah, in 1 month from now, assuring that we can open our, inshallah, in the coming months very soon for the tourism. But we prefer, of course, vaccinated people in the first stage, and then slowly we can evaluate every case. The system is more sustainable for that. The capacity of our hospitals, inshallah, we are assured that we build like our testing system from like 500 to 1,000 tests a day to 20 to 25,000, which are huge, like around from 20 to 40 growth times fold. And the same thing for our hospitals, ICU. We built up to 700 ICU, and we tested this in the last second wave. It was around less than 500, and we could handle them, alhamdulillah, properly, and give the chance everybody to have the chance to go there. There's always chance that people come late to the hospital, or they are reluctant to take the test as early as possible that they can. So this we can recommend always to people, always they have the chance to go to hospital early. Other thing in the future that we can see that now there is treatments, that we have mononuclear antibodies in the market. Many treatments are coming, IV treatments, maybe hopefully in the future, tablet, even assuring people to have better chances to be protected from this, and life will go normally, inshallah, as soon as possible with these things. Our phases in Qatar is moving forward, inshallah. We're now phase 2. The numbers are assuring us we can move to phase 2, inshallah. The decision will be taken very soon from the government for the phase 2, and this will help people to grow in the economy and can go forward in their normal practice as much as they can. Our main strength is the system, as we mentioned. So our main challenge is sometimes we need the vaccine to come on time, but it's not in our hand. It's international companies. We are always communicating with them to assure it's coming on time. And things as a whole is going a very good to excellent situation, but there's always something happen from time to time. But inshallah, we can handle. We are the other challenge, there's still resistant people who don't want to get the vaccine. And these are the most people are always at risk in the ICU that we need to make more awareness for them. And from this here today, from this meeting, I would like people to recommend for their families all to be vaccinated soon. Maybe inshallah in the future, there'll be vaccination even for a young age, from 1 to 11, the vaccine will happen. And if God forbid something happen, the companies are planning for a third dose. If there's any mutant it can come, the system of mRNA that was done by some companies can help to make quickly a new product that can help with any mutants that can happen in the world. And we believe this investment in health will push health forward in a faster method. We look in health even with this, that I hope that although we are sad for the millions that died till now, we hope that in the coming decade we'll save 100 maybe million due with the new vaccines and the treatment that will be invested in health sector, and we'll get more longevity in people's health and life, inshallah. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Very reassuring, and you made it very clear, vaccinate. And there are hardly any death after vaccination. That's the experience Qatar has witnessed. And I think that's what we should propagate as a culture. Vaccinate, safeguard yourself. Now, a few questions to you, Dr. Sheikh Mohammed. Very enlightening. You comprehensively done everything, including the new generation. They have to get, there are medicines coming, vaccinations coming. Now, question number 1, do you think Qatar plan manufacturing COVID-19 vaccines in Qatar?
Yes, thank you. For now, we are not planning to vaccinate, to make the product in Qatar. It's still in more bigger companies. We are looking forward to find this in the future with companies, but it's too early to build manufacture, because this is still in content with international companies. But Qatar is looking forward to grow in the pharmaceutical business as a whole, and drugs and treatments, and maybe vaccine in the future. But this usual vaccine, we are planning through the GCC.
Okay, that's interesting. What are the key lessons? Next question is, what are the key lessons from COVID-19 to be futuristic?
Yes, from the lessons that we know now, that we need to invest more in technology. Most of the technology that helped us was our preparation in technology. And like as you said, that CERN HMC saves in Ministry of Public Health and HYDROCARBON for the country through the government and health. This, we are planning for more IT programs that can help us during the World Cup. There's something we need to assure that we have, like we invested in dairy products, and we invested many things during the boycott. We need to invest in some of essential pharmaceutical products that we may need. God forbid, we don't accept any shortage in these products in the future. So we have what we need if, God forbid, something happen. Even basically, this learned that to build our capacity in health as we did it in other sectors. And we learned that investing in training our human resources and recognizing them in health will help. That, as you know, we commend our health workers. They're working for 1.5 years continuously, with very few days maybe they got as rest, but they're working hard, putting their life at risk. So we should recognize them and assure that they are trained always enough, and have the capacity to align any volunteers needed from the private sector and from the semi-governmental when needed, to work together as so in solidarity in one hand to assure that we are aligned.
Very interesting. Now, one more question. What are your thoughts on Qatar's healthcare capacity post-COVID? Are you going to create a center of excellence for healthcare in the region?
Yes, alhamdulillah, as you know, Qatar has recognized. In Qatar, we are having the GCI approval. Our whole health system is recognized maybe from North America. The GCI mainly in HAMAD Hospital, and primary healthcare, they have the diamond accreditation for primary healthcare. And Qatar, inshallah, soon will be the first country to get public health accreditation outside USA. We are in progress of this. So the excellence is going through the government and the private sector for accreditation and excellence. And we're having the partners, inshallah, with one of the best institutes and universities around the world. And they recognize our work here. And alhamdulillah, many from the very advanced countries say what Qatar did, and this was marvelous, competing with any country in the world. But as we say, wait, and let's see how this will finish, inshallah. And this will be, inshallah, proven to trust people to come to the World Cup 22 in Qatar. So.
Right. That's all the questions we have time, but there are many questions pouring for both on the healthcare and the business. One last question I think I should, that is on Yusuf Jaider, a business life editor, AFAF. She has just on the web, she has asked a question. Don't you think, Mr. Jaider, don't you think, I'm reading out verbatim, don't you think the amount of money or minimum capital for investment should be decreased, especially nowadays, just to attract more investors in QFC?
Did you say the minimum capital?
Yes.
Yeah, we don't have a minimum capital. You can start a company with 1 riyal, 1,000 riyals, whatever. So we've always had that. The only exception to that is if you open a bank or an insurance company, then obviously, depending on what type of bank, if you're providing loans and taking deposits, then it's $10 million minimum. But for all the other professional services companies, I mean, you can open up a company with zero capital.
Perhaps she means the financial sector. Whatever it is, again, arguably you have the best of infrastructure, you have the tax system, which is lowest, one of the lowest in the world, a flat 10%. So whichever will be the value advantage, and economic fundamentals are strong more than anything else for years to come. I did enlighten you, all of you, what is the hydrocarbon story, and the very fact, the sustainable revenue stream, it means sustainable, investments in Qatar within the modernization definition. So this is a place to do business, and financial centers are there, Qatar Exchange is there, and you have a very sound, healthcare systems. We have seen the reflection of Qatar's economic governance, social governance, political governance, environmental governance more than anything else, and human governance. And I'm sure you all have got the right inputs which you asked for. I thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, and we have continuing education as a financial literacy or even healthcare. Nowadays, all of us should know we brought the best of professionals in their experts in their own discipline. They have enlightened you, they have given you their wisdoms, and we all recognize Qatar is a country of great substance. And here is the prospects, here is the opportunity for generations to come. Good luck, and thank you for your participation, one and all. I want to thank the speakers who have spared a valuable time. My friend Rashid Mansouri, Qatar Exchange CEO, Mr. Yusuf Jaider, Qatar Financial Center CEO, Mr. Khalid Al-Mana, Executive Director of Qatar Development Bank. Last but not the least, my great friend Sheikh Mohammed was joined from Russia. Look at his commitments. And that shows Qatar means business, and they want to make sure they are here to support the global vision, and they enlighten through a knowledge society. Thank you once again for your participation. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. مع السلامة.